Welcome back to my channel. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. It's great to have you here. Every word we speak carries the heartbeat of a story. From the moment we open our mouths to speak, we share something deeper than vocabulary. We share life. Stories have a way of reaching into the human soul, crossing barriers that grammar and textbooks can never touch. You see, when we learn through stories, something happens inside of us. We don't just study English, we experience it. We begin to taste the rhythm of the words, to feel the weight of emotion behind each sentence, and to understand how language breathes. Think about it, every language was born out of stories. Before there were schools, before there were books, there were stories told around campfires, whispered between generations. People didn't learn by memorizing rules. They learned by listening, by feeling, by living through the experiences of others. That's what storytelling does. It makes words come alive. When you hear a story like Marion and Sam, you're not just hearing two characters, you're stepping into their world. You see their fear, their hope, their choices, and in that moment, English becomes more than a subject. It becomes a bridge between you and the human experience. So many people say, I want to speak English fluently. But real fluency doesn't come from repeating phrases. It comes from living the language. When you let a story move you, when a scene makes your heart beat a little faster or your eyes tear up a little, that's when you're truly learning. Because language that stirs emotion is language that stays with you. And the beauty of it all is that stories don't judge you. They don't correct your accent or mark your grammar in red. They welcome you in, no matter where you are on your journey. They teach you gently through feeling and imagination. They make you forget you're learning, and that's when the magic happens. So as you listen to the story of Marion and Sam, don't just focus on the words. Feel their struggle, walk beside them. Let their story become a part of your own. Because the power of a story isn't just in what it tells, it's in how it transforms the heart of the one who listens. Language isn't just about rules and verbs, it's about connecting souls. Too many people treat English as a list of lessons, a set of grammar drills, a puzzle to be solved. But language was never meant to be trapped in notebooks. It was born to reach people, to help one heart understand another. That's why when you listen to a story like Marion and Sam, something stirs inside you. You don't just hear what they're saying, you feel what they're feeling. Their voices carry more than words. They carry emotion, pain, hope, and truth. When you start to listen that way, English stops being a foreign language. It becomes human. You begin to hear laughter in the tone, fear in the silence, love in the pauses. You realize that communication is not about speaking perfectly, it's about speaking honestly. And that's something every one of us can do, no matter where we come from or what accent we have. We live in a world that's more connected than ever, yet people still feel unseen, unheard, misunderstood. But language, true language, has the power to break that wall. You can sit thousands of miles away, listen to a story in English, and still feel like you're right there beside the characters. You can understand their hearts even before you understand every word. That's connection. That's the miracle of communication. When Marion speaks, maybe you recognize your own fear in her voice. When Sam answers, maybe you hear courage you wish you had. That's how language becomes alive, through empathy. And empathy doesn't come from memorizing vocabulary lists. It comes from listening with your heart. The more you connect, the more natural your English becomes. Because your learning isn't mechanical anymore, it's emotional. So the next time you practice English, don't just focus on the grammar, focus on the soul behind the sentence. Every word someone speaks carries a piece of their story. And when you truly listen, when you connect beyond the rules and beyond the verbs, you begin to speak a language the whole world understands, the language of the heart. Many people live in fear of speaking English. They hold the words in their minds but can't bring them to their lips. They worry about being wrong, about being laughed at, about sounding different. And that fear becomes a wall that keeps them silent, keeps them small, keeps them from discovering their true voice. But let me tell you something. That fear is not the truth. It's only a shadow, and when you bring it into the light of storytelling, it begins to disappear. When you learn English through stories, something beautiful happens. You stop chasing perfection and you start embracing expression. You begin to realize that mistakes don't define you, they refine you. Every time you speak, every time you stumble, you grow stronger. Because storytelling doesn't judge your grammar, it celebrates your courage. It reminds you that language was never meant to be perfect, it was meant to be alive. Think of Marion and Sam. Their story isn't one of comfort or certainty. It's filled with fear, choice, and emotion. But as their story unfolds, they don't hide behind silence. They act, they speak, they take risks. That's what turns fear into freedom. And the same thing happens when you dare to speak, even when your voice shakes. You find that freedom was never waiting on perfection, it was waiting on participation. There's something powerful about hearing your own voice in a new language. The first few times it may sound strange, but as you keep going, as you tell stories, as you live the language, that fear loses its grip. You begin to enjoy it, the sound of your voice shaping new words, painting new meanings, touching new hearts. You realize that communication is not about being flawless, it's about being fearless. And when you reach that point, English becomes more than a skill, it becomes a doorway to confidence, to connection, to new worlds. Because every time you speak with courage, you tear down another piece of that wall. So speak boldly, tell your story, let your fear turn into freedom, and your silence into song. Every character in a story carries a lesson not just in what they say, but in how they live, how they react, how they feel. Marion and Sam aren't just names on a page. They're reflections of the people we meet every day. They carry fear, courage, regret, and hope. And when you listen to their story, you're not just learning English, you're learning humanity. You're hearing the rise and fall of emotion, the rhythm of thought, the heartbeat of expression. That's the kind of learning no textbook can give you. When Marion speaks, you can sense her uncertainty, the tremble beneath her words. When Sam answers, you can feel the calm strength in his tone. Those differences, those textures in voice and emotion, teach you the real rhythm of English. You begin to notice how tone changes meaning, how pauses create feeling, how silence can speak louder than sound. And without even realizing it, you start to understand not just what is being said, but how it's being said. That's when language becomes art. You see, every character you meet in a story is like a teacher in disguise. They show you what courage sounds like. They show you what fear whispers. They show you how love softens a voice and how anger sharpens it. By studying their voices, their emotions, their choices, you learn the music of English, the melody that grammar alone can never teach. And once you catch that melody, you begin to speak differently. Your words find rhythm, your sentences carry feeling, you no longer sound like someone repeating phrases, you sound like someone who believes what they're saying. That's why storytelling is such a powerful teacher. It doesn't hand you dry lessons, it hands you living examples. Marion and Sam don't tell you how to speak. They show you through their actions, through their words, through their hearts. And in doing so, they remind you that learning English isn't about mastering a language. It's about understanding people. Because when you listen deeply, when you see yourself in the story, you realize something simple yet life-changing. Every character teaches you something, if only you're willing to listen. Listening is one of the most powerful ways to learn, not just to understand words, but to feel them. When you listen to stories, something begins to happen inside you. Your ears start to recognize the rhythm, the tone, the flow of English as it's really spoken. You start to hear when a sentence rises with emotion or softens with care. You notice the pauses, the sighs, the laughter between the lines. That's when English stops being a lesson and starts becoming life. When you listen to a story like Marion and Sam, you're not just catching words, you're absorbing the heart behind them. You hear Marion's hesitation, the tremor in her voice, and you understand fear without anyone having to explain it. You hear Sam's calm, steady tone, and you feel strength and peace through his speech. That's how real English sounds, not polished, not perfect, but human. And the more you listen to it, the more your own speech begins to carry that same natural rhythm. Listening is more than a skill, it's a transformation. Every time you truly listen, you change a little. You start to think in English without forcing it. You start to understand phrases that once felt impossible. It's like tuning your heart to a new melody. At first, it's unfamiliar, but soon it becomes second nature. That's the beauty of storytelling. It doesn't teach you by instruction. It teaches you by immersion. And here's the truth: good listening is not passive. It's alive. It's leaning forward, feeling the words, letting the story wash over you. You begin to see that the voice carries meaning far beyond vocabulary. It teaches you pronunciation, emotion, rhythm, and empathy all at once. That's something no grammar chart could ever give. So don't just listen to understand, listen to feel. Let the voices of Marion and Sam guide your ears and open your heart. Because when you truly listen, you're not just learning a language, you're being transformed by it. And that transformation is what turns ordinary learners into extraordinary speakers. Your voice matters. The world doesn't need another silent learner hiding behind fear or perfection. It needs you, your voice, your story, your sound. Too often, people believe that they must wait until they speak perfectly before they speak at all. But if you wait for perfection, you'll wait forever, because your voice was never meant to be perfect, it was meant to be heard. When you listen to stories like Marion and Sam, you might think their voices are the ones that matter most. But the truth is, their story is only a reflection, a mirror for your own courage. Every time you hear their words, you're being invited to find yours. You're being reminded that language is not just about understanding others. It's about expressing who you are. Your accent, your rhythm, your way of speaking, they're not mistakes. They're your signature, the mark of your journey. And when you share your voice, you give someone else permission to do the same. The first time you speak in English, it might feel uncertain. Your words may come slowly, your tongue may stumble, your voice may shake. But speak anyway, because every great speaker once stood where you are trembling, unsure, and yet willing. Willing to be brave, willing to be heard, and each time you speak, you grow. Each time you tell a story, you gain strength. That's how confidence is built, not in silence, but in sound. Your voice has the power to reach hearts, to connect cultures, to tell truths that no textbook could ever hold. Someone, somewhere, might need to hear the story only you can tell. That's why English or any language is not just about words, it's about purpose. It's about finding the courage to step out from behind your fear and say, I have something to share. So today, don't hide behind hesitation. Speak boldly, let your voice rise even if it trembles, because when you speak, you remind the world that language isn't just learned, it's lived. And the moment you find your courage to speak, that's when your story truly begins. And that's the beauty of learning English through stories. It's not just about words. It's about life, courage, and connection. If these stories inspired you, let your voice be heard. Share your thoughts below. Don't forget to hit that like button if you felt the message. Subscribe to the channel and join this journey of learning through powerful storytelling. Until next time, keep listening, keep speaking, and keep your story alive.